Welcome, 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 everyone, to Two Guys in Hockey Talk. My name is Pawel the Cat with my very kind and intelligent co-host, Evan. Evan Reynolds, how you doing?
I think he's up to something tonight, folks. Guys, my name is Evan Reynolds, and I think my co-host here is up to something because he said very kind. And I'm not sure why that comment came out. Maybe he wants a night off, and a break for me stepping away last week. But hey, great to see you. So in something interesting before we're not going to get a chance. So we don't have this booked and planned into our piece, but now playoff beards. Let's admit they need to be clean the first day of the playoff, or you ain't got a playoff beard. I don't care. Hockey players go for this too. You can't have a beard like you do, Pawel. So you either get rid of that or you cannot call it a playoff beard. You must start from scratch. Guys, I don't know about anyone else out there, but
I didn't realize that you're the former GM Lou Lamoriello of the New York Islanders over here with your strict policy about beards. Oof. I didn't get that in my claws. And if people know us from a long time ago, we used to make a lot of beard jokes. So it was great. I'm keeping it. I'm sorry. I like it.
Okay.
This is very nice. This is what brings you to the playoffs. After that, I can't promise the promised land.
Well, and hey, before we get going and you open us up with some first stories, whoa!
For sure. I just want to say hey to Ray, gentlemen. It's been a good week. I'm glad to hear that, Ray. Hope you're doing well.
Ray, I want to know. I agree with that. Hey, I want to know, Ray. It's great to see you, Zil. Hey, Ray, I just want to know, what's it like in New Jersey right now? Because we're in Western Canada and it's snowing. I feel like we're still in early February. This is like, I heard it's an El Nino year, but what is going on? So
it has been crazy. Hey. So we're going to get to breaking news right now. It sounds like the Chicago Blackhawks are extending their GM Kyle Davidson to a contract extension. Of course, they fall short with the postseason this year, but I really believe that they, they're on the right trajectory. They have a lot of young, good pieces that they're building around with Connor Bedard and Spencer Knight, of course, the young goalie that I think, has the potential to be a 1A. Good for Chicago. This is his fourth season right now since taking over in 2023. But I really believe you've got some good pieces. Anton Frondel, Lechushinov, Kirby Doc, of course, if he can stay healthy, and Frank Nazar, who's had a great year and he's locked up. So they're really hoping to really bolster that. And I think next year, similar to what Anaheim had this year, there's no exceptions. You got to potentially make the postseason. That's the expectation, I think, for Chicago. So it's been good. It's been exciting. And so that's new on the bright. On the news front. Now, Zistra says, I was hoping for a fairy tale ending for Ovi. Yeah, it's been interesting because we've talked about it before on previous episodes, how he potentially could retire. It kind of sounds like he may not after the game versus, the Pittsburgh Penguins when Malkin and Crosby were trying to lead a handshake and, he was kind of shooing him off. And then, of course, I think in the post-game or pre-game comments by Evgeny Malkin, who he knows very well, they've had a tumultuous relationship, but, they respect one another. He kind of said, I don't think he's going to retire. I think he's going to keep going. So it goes to show you that there may be, one more year of Alex Ovechkin, but we'll find out this summer, right? So it'll be interesting to see. And Ray says, it's been quite warm the last few days, but overall up and down for sure. The good news is no more Tom Fitzgerald. Yeah, we talked about that last week. What direction now will the New Jersey Devil take over? And Timu, hello. Hope you're doing well. I was working on my pronunciations, Timu, so just so you know, I'm getting there. So as an aside, before we get into some more news around the NHL that we wanted to cover, we did want to share with you guys, we're trying a little bit of a new thing. We have a little bit of a widget on our screen today you're going to see, and we're going to try this out for a little bit. So it's a little bit of a test where we are going to ask you different questions. And for this week's questions, we want to know who should win the Norris Trophy this week. Is it Zach Werenski? Is it Evan Bouchard? Is it Rasmus Dahlin? Is it Kel McCarr, as Kevin Bieksa vehemently explained on Saturday night last week? And they had a very passionate argument with Elliot Friedman. And of course, Pronger was there. And we'll get into Pronger, some stories happening around him. But You know what? There's a lot of debate this year about the Norris, Evan, and like you, I'd like to know your thoughts because I understand Kevin BX's rationale, but I want to counter and say I believe it's either going between Zach Werenski and Evan Bouchard. That would be my two choices. Your thoughts on the Norris?
So if I'm picking, I am picking Evan Bouchard. Any other year a player gets the amount of points that he has. And the difference between Werenski, like I know people are talking, man, he has been terrible these last 5 games. Like he's just like, shat the bed, essentially, as they would say with it. And because it's not that big a difference in some of the numbers, and I get the supporting cast, when you can put up what he puts up, and if people say, oh man, well, look who he's playing with. Well, why is this the only year? And that team is letting in goals left and right. And can I say, going back and looking through and I talked about this, I think a couple weeks back when I was on, I actually went back and I looked through, and some of the times it's not him. It's the other rest of the team giving up the puck, and he's the one caught. And then that becomes the actual issue with that, right? So what's Timu got to say there?
Timu said the guy who said McCarr, Hockey Night in Canada. So Kevin BX, a former defenseman of Vancouver Canucks. He said got fried online by a guy who showed the Team Canada highlights from the championship game. I think that the argument that BX had is that he's the best all-around defenseman. He's played 70-plus games this year. I agree he's good. But here's the thing, Evan. If he's the best defenseman all around, McDavid should win the Hart every year. That's how I see the award. Yeah. But I think currently this year between Bouchard and Werenski, and I know the Columbus Blue Jackets, we'll get into it later about what's going on with Rick Bonus's comments, but I really believe that the challenge here was that, how is he doing this year? Werenski's played unreal. They struggled this year to make it. And Bouchard, I mean, he's made some defensive lapses, but when you have the puck as much as other players do, I really believe that that you're going to have lapses, right? Everyone does. And so I think it's a toss-up between these two. Do you take into consideration going into the postseason as a factor? Do you look at someone like Erik Karlsson, who a couple of years ago fed the puck in San Jose and essentially won with 100-plus points? I think it was like 101, 103 points. It just goes to show you that Cale Makar is one of the best of the best. Quinn Hughes has something to say about that up there.
But his numbers, Quinn Hughes' numbers don't add up, and you still got to put a whole year in. If you took away the first 2 months for Evan Bouchard, he would easily win this hands down. But
he struggled at the beginning, but he's picked it up.
But if you actually look and you see the numbers, Makar shouldn't even be in this. And that's why Hughes isn't up there because he didn't start well with the Canucks since he's joined the Wild. It's been a great run. But actually, Makar's numbers are far worse than Bouchard's when you're dealing with the giveaways and you're dealing with the amount of times and saved pucks. And the actual numbers, they are not actually recording. I've actually gone through. I've probably checked out about 5 games from all 4 of these players. And I'm actually checking them out when they're on the ice. And there is often that Bouchard never gets credit for a save on the goal line or something along that line or pulling the puck out. It's just not credited to him when I go back and check the stats, where someone like Makar seems to get it. So this is why I don't trust the analytics piece when you're trusting people behind the scenes. And some of the scouts, when we talk about amateur scouting and stuff, and they say why they don't use it, it's because at the lower levels, it's not accurate. Even at this stage, it's not always accurate. So number 5, Jordan Spence. That's interesting.
Yeah. That's an interesting pick. I'm going to go out on a limb and say, what about Miro Heiskanen? He has been so underrated as a defenseman in Dallas, and I don't think people give him enough credit. For this year, it's himself. He has, in 77 games, had 9 goals and 54 assists for 63 points. Now, he's not a point-per-game guy. That's still very incredible as a player, I know he plays with players like Thomas Harley, amongst some others, but it just goes to Miro Heiskanen. There you go. Thank you, Timo. But I really believe that Cale Makar does benefit from playing with Nathan McKinnon, March and Aegis. They had a great start to the season. They're President's Trophies winners. He's won it before. It's not to take anything away from him. But I really believe it's between Werenski, maybe a little bit Dahlin, although, because Buffalo finally made the postseason, but Evan Bouchard as well. I think those 3 guys have probably got my vote. Even though personal vote, but
and I think Werenensky will win it in the end, just because of the bias of the East. I always feel there's a bias from the East. I think that year Makar won it. Actually, I think it was Makar, but that was the year that Weber almost had 100 points. He should have hands down been the actually winner that year. Okay, read what Timu says here. This is interesting.
I did a thing a month ago. Cale Makar without Nathan McKinnon is about 45% on his time off ice, has the stats equal to a player such as Niels Lundqvist, who's a third pairing guy who's been injured and isn't good. Actually, I think it's worst on goals against.
Okay,
right?
I saw that girls against. We won't hold that against you there, Timu. Just like don't hold the bad enunciation of
We're learning.
Okay,
well, we talked about this last week with the two Jakes, how the Olympics really helped me learn pronunciations of some of the players. But Timu also says Heiskanen doesn't play with Harley. I know he doesn't play with. I'm saying he has someone like a Harley who's a top defenseman in the league, but he plays with Esa Lindell. He didn't play with Hintz for half the season. He played with Rantanen for 25 games of the season. He played with Stam Steeler. Rantanen had 70 points. No, I agree. I'm saying that when you look at Dallas, when people often associate the number one defenseman, yes, there's Miro Heiskanen, but sometimes people will say, hey, Thomas Harley, people wanted him, and he came out of the woodwork too, right? When he played for the World Cup. So it goes to show you that even though they have a plethora of talent, he still is able to elevate his game and be as effective as he is. So Miro Heiskanen, he shouldn't be underrated, but I feel like in the eyes of the Norris voters, he is. So that's my thought. You guys can vote, and then we can go from there.
Just before you mention Timu, so folks, if you see it on there, I'm not sure on X. We're just getting at some of our media stream. I'm going to leave it up and put it off and on. So if you see it up there, go ahead and click on your favorite. We only have 4 polls. I could have done 3 and then the other, but generally everyone talks Makar and Werenensky and Bouchard. But Darlene's been thrown in there. Heiskanen should be in there. That would be my 5th. I don't think out of those 5, no one else actually would get it. So I didn't have another. I only have 4. And we will do in the second half of the show an Adams for the best coach, and we'll hit that at the halftime show.
For sure. And Zilcher said Harley was Norris quality in Olympics. Yeah, again,
he was great. He was great.
He was a quiet, steady presence. You didn't notice. What?
No, let's go back to Zach. Who was it? Bugius? Guys, I forget. He's with Frankly Hockey. John Bugius. I'm slashing his name here. Just totally throttling it. He actually came out and said that Werenensky should get it because he saw him in the Olympics, and the way he played shows he's the Norris player. Why would you take, and he's a writer and he's a voter and he's going to vote for him because of what he did in the Olympics? Oh, come on. Talk about how biased the take is by the writers. And that's my concern about the East writers.
Gross.
What's that?
John Bucci, gross.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Why don't we get started?
Timu says Heiskanen broke an NHL playoff record for most time on ice without a goal against the Oilers and Avalanche for almost 7 games, averaging 30 minutes versus 29. Draisaitl Mac. Again, I'm with you there, Timu. I'm all about the Heiskanen train. I think he deserves to win it, and until he wins it, he will be underappreciated the way Barkov was for the longest time.
I think Heiskanen, the time I would vote for him, is the best usually the best defenseman in the playoffs, even if he doesn't go to the Stanley Cup. That generally, he's the one that can stop him and score.
100%. And this also, and we're getting really deep into this, but this also kind of goes to the show. Should there be an award for both best offensive defenseman?
Yeah, I pulled that up earlier for Zil.
We've talked about that earlier before.
Yeah,
so
that's
something to think about. You guys can vote on the thing. It's an interesting discussion. There's a lot to do it, but we're going to get into some other stuff around the NHL with Jonathan Quick, who's calling it a career.
Whoa.
So 19 seasons in the NHL, 3 Stanley Cups he had, or 2 Stanley Cups. I can't remember if he was on the Vegas team there. 2 Stanley Cups. Conn Smythe winner in 2012. Just an all-around 753 games played with 393 wins, with a .911 save percentage, Evan, and a goals against of 2.46. I mean, playing backup for Igor Shesterkin in the Rangers in the last few years, he's been really a good, steady presence. But generally, hell of a career. Could be a first ballot Hall of Famer. The guy was just a beast on the ice. You loved seeing him. And I know LA had to trade him away, but he was phenomenal. Any thoughts about Jonathan Quick?
Number one, his name, talk about prophetic. The guy, I don't know a goalie who's quicker at lateral movement from left to right. I remember watching him so often, not just regular season, but especially in the playoffs during those cup years. I've never seen a goalie play in a butterfly, go lateral, side to side. He is so low, that puck should be up top, but his glove hand, his blocker, even in the high spots when he's down low, that guy is an amazing, his athleticism was one of the best ever. And I think he was one of the best, what I would call personalities in the game, like one of the nicest guys. I'm surprised he didn't win one of those awards at some point for what he does in the community and the connection. And so, you know what? I know he's calling it a career. What's that?
The Bill Masterton Award?
That's it. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Man.
946 save percentage in the 2012 playoffs.
Wow.
Like, that's how incredible he was. He was a wall.
Yeah, I mean, I love the guy. I wasn't cheering for that team, so I didn't love him that way. But he was the guy that just stowed you. And he gave you all this space, and then, boom, it's gone. He snagged it, or he's thrown it off into the corner or redirected. And he could use his pads like a stick to guide it. I remember watching often when he would use his – I remember Marc-Andre Fleury early in his career before he settled down a bit because he was quite wild, but he's very athletic. And he would use his pad to guide and direct. Like all goalies do it to some extent, but he would use it regularly. So he would use his pad and pass the puck up and get it into the neutral zone, up to the forwards, and they'd make that. And Quick was incredible at that. So
100%. Well, speaking of one career ending, another one that's beginning is for Brandon Coots. So you wanted to kind of highlight his season so far.
Yeah. So, hey, I think this is really good news. If you guys think, if you are a fan of the Vancouver Canucks. Now, we're not going to get into it this week. We're going to wait till a little bit closer around the draft lottery, around that time, to get more into this on the Vancouver Canucks. So Brandon Coots, this year he hit his 63-point mark, this season, which matched his career high for his points in junior from last year. But he's done it in 15 fewer games. So he was improving. He was working more on the 200-foot game. And the kid is flying as a top-line center right now for the Prince Albert Raiders. He is driving plays, scoring, leading every night, right through the grind of this right from the grind of the regular season and into these playoffs. So I think he's added a very strong production to the postseason now too, with a couple goals in Game 3 of the Eastern Conference semis here as they push for that final. And that's the kind of jump that you need to see from your first-round pick in a draft plus 1 year. So it's not just numbers. It's that he's showing he can be a playmaker and a finisher, but also really big is a leader. And the Canucks are going to need that in their young players. So hopefully he can be a two-way force with the Canucks development staff. But you got to be thrilled about a couple other things with the Vancouver Canucks, of just saying around this and how they've been working with him and how they've handled the midseason trades, working around captaincy. But listen, not only is he turning into someone that they're missing in their pipeline, but the Canucks prospect system is kind of buzzing. Tom Willingter, remember we talked about this for a while, what's going to happen, what's not, and we were giving people ideas last year. He was adapting really well. It's funny, you're the one correcting. Half the time you're the one that needs it. So, but thanks, bud. He's adapting well at the pro level after a really strong college to AHL jump. So Lekkerimäki is actually also flashing those elite goal scoring in the AHL, which is good as well. And those newer pieces like Zebuam, they're climbing the rankings fast as future building blocks. And now they're going to be looking at bringing in, a third. If they didn't get the first two in the draft and they get dropped out, even though they're going to have the best odds, worse, they're going to get a top 3 player. So you got to, be excited about what's actually going on in that part of the Canucks system.
100%. There will be some growing pains next year. And of course, they're going to still have to figure out Elias Pettersson. But I think you're starting to see some of the pieces that they want to bring in and build around and he's going to be part of that big future. So it'll be interesting to see how that transitions. Speaking of what's it called? Difficult. What's it called? Kind of like grinds that you're going to go through. So in Columbus, as we alluded to earlier, Rick Bowness, he kind of ripped into the team after their final game, 2-1 loss to the Washington Capitals. Now, they were on a steamer when they hired him. I believe it was earlier this year. And they came in red hot. They looked like they could potentially make the playoffs. And he goes into it and rips the team talking about how their lack of effort, consistency, overall culture is just, it's deep. It's rooted deep and it's poor. Go ahead.
And you think Zach is not a part of that? Right, listeners, for Norris Trophy, listen to what the coach is saying. Zach's not sitting there by himself and the only good player right now. He's just as much of the problem.
Well, and they have some veterans there, right? And so, you wonder to yourself, what's going to really happen there? Will he be back? I mean, he came out of retirement. He's in his 70s, and he's really helped steer that ship. But what's it going to take for Columbus to get back in the postseason? We know how much of a whirlwind of a season last season was, given everything that was happening behind the scenes for the team. But really, can the Columbus Blue Jackets come out next year and be competitive and make the postseason? I love the cannon. I love the jerseys. I have one right here. I really believe that they need to address some issues. Boone Jenner, do you stick around, right? Sean Monahan, he's really been good for them, but is he a top 1 seat? They have some good pieces there. Adam Fantilli, is he going to be the next captain? Is it Ryan Graves? Their what's it called? Their goaltender, who's Graves, yeah.
I don't know. You're sitting there and picking on me and correcting my names, and I think you've said whatchamacallit, and you've said that 7 times already here since we started the show. So I just want to mention, hey, you put it out, you're gonna get it come back here. So I'm just
that's fine. I can, if I can dish it out, I can take it. I understand there. So your thoughts on essentially, like, what does Columbus do? And is Rick Bowness right for calling the team out right now at the end of the season?
I think it was just pure frustration. I don't think whether it's right or wrong. I have no problem with this. The team has failed miserably. I still did not think they were a winning team. I did not think they were ready for a playoff run yet. I'm not impressed with some people of Adam Fantilli. I think his growth has been stunted. Has not turned out to be the player even that I thought he could be. He should be able to carry. I think he's a supporting player, and he's going to need a superstar to play beside him. And some people need that, right? So, I don't know. What's that? What did
Evan tonight is acting like Stephen Johns. Yeah, I mean, really, like, Charlie Cole has had a good career year, and I know people were looking at him at the trade deadline. But really, like, if Adam Fantilli is your number 1 center with Kirill Marchenko, who had a good year, and Isaac Lundstrom, I mean, you need a little bit more depth up there, right? You need that superstar to get it going. Yeah. So I feel for Columbus fans, because similar to Buffalo, they're there through thick and thin. They support their team. They want to do what they can. But I really believe that they need to change something, right? They have a lot of young, good prospects coming through, but is it enough to make a difference? So it'll be interesting to see. And speaking of a former Columbus Blue Jacket, Sergei Bobrovsky, let's get into it.
Okay, so guys, listen to this. I want to have a little conversation around this. The latest on Sergei Bobrovsky's contract situation with the Florida Panthers. I want to update you as of today. So Greg Wyshynski, of ESPN, he did say some issues on the Sheet podcast with Jeff Merrick are going on. And this happened I think it was just 2 days ago. I'm just trying to get my numbers right. But it's really the freshest and the most blunt insider take that we have out there. Now, this is the direct quote that he said. He says, I think the situation with Bob and Florida is pretty bad from what I've heard. And I've heard there's a significant gap between what he's looking for and then what they're willing to give him. And I have a feeling that they're going to go in a different direction now, which is kind of crazy, right? So this is what he has talked about. And now he is talking about an extension talks for Bobrovsky. For those that don't know, he is the goalie who has won 2 Stanley Cups with the Florida Panthers, been to 3 Stanley Cup finals. straight in a row. And this year has had a bit more of a struggle. He was aging. Before those three finals, though, they couldn't get rid of his contract, and they were trying to get rid of it. And it's funny how people change so quickly. Like Florida fans are, move on with them. And then they complain about Vegas saying, move on with them. It's the same thing, right? It happens everywhere. You got to move on. I think that it's probably he wants around 5 to 6 million. And I think
that's the Marchand deal.
Yeah, and I think that we're really looking at probably more around 2.5 to 3.5 for a backup goalie is what they're actually looking at around that. So that 10 million is behind him. He made his money. Let's face it, he should be happy that he made money on some of those years because he was pretty bad, and this year he's been pretty bad as well. And let's face it, right? That's one of the reasons they're struggling. Not mentioning they've had a lot of injuries fighting throughout the year, especially with Barkov out, right? I thought Barkov would have made it back earlier. So, but at the trade deadline, Bill Zito did publicly say, and I'm going to say this and I'm going to get your take. He says that Bob is a part of our core and they pivoted hard to extension talks instead of trading him. So the gap is real. Will it come in a shorter term, 2 to 3 years, maybe to get that AAV lower? But what's going to happen around this, right? And it does not sound like anyone else is reporting on this right now. There's lots of talk on trade rumors, Reddit, and Daily Faceoff has some recaps, okay? But other insiders like LeBrun and Friedman and Johnson, all these others, they're saying it's ongoing but unresolved. So where's your take?
I thought he was going to resign given all the talks. I think now he's gone. And you want a hot shot take? I'll give you a hot shot take. Okay. Jordan Binnington is going to be a Florida Panther.
Oh.
Yeah. I heard some rumblings that he could potentially go there. He's a little bit older. St. Louis is kind of semi-rebuilding, and I think because they can't get a contract extension done, they're going to try to they're going to move off him, potentially. They're going to have something ready for him once he's ready to retire and he can be office management. But I really believe they're going to go after someone because they're going to try to go after it next year. This year was a blip for them. They lost. It didn't work out. A lot of injuries, of course, as you know. And, of course, understandable with 3 Stanley Cup final appearances, winning 2 of those. It takes its toll. He's played a lot of games, right? When you include 16-plus games in the postseason, plus the regular season, and now it's going up to 84 games next season, right? It's a lot for a goalie. I know they're far apart on the numbers, but I think that he probably, unless there's some deal with bonus structure attached to it, I think he's not going to stay there. Zilcher asked, would San Jose sign him? I could see him potentially going somewhere where he can mentor a young guy. I don't know if Edmonton would take a chance on it. Edmonton has to figure out their own Tristan Jarry situation again, even though Stuart Skinner hasn't exactly lit it up in Pittsburgh, although they did make the postseason. So I really think that he's probably gone.
So what if Edmonton makes a last-minute deal, Stan Bowman, just with his expiring contract so they can quickly get Bobrovsky in and sign him, okay, for next season to maybe, say, a $5 million deal times 3 years, but they had to get him by trading Tristan Jarry out and eating 50% of his cap for the remaining years.
That would be a bad faux pas on their
part.
Oh,
man, we are so far behind. We better get moving.
All right. Why are still see some about the AV's cap so high now? Because they're what's it called? They want to showcase their dollars and they really want to pay out. So I mean, the cap is going up, but it's going to be interesting to see what other teams do in terms of attracting other free agents, right? We saw what LA did with Panarin, and that Seattle offered him a bigger deal. But, I mean, you got to pay to have a player come sometimes. Sometimes that's the way to entice players.